My son chose his in-laws over me. Here's how I turned the tables. When my boy told me I wasn't welcome at his place for Christmas, I smiled like it didn't sting, walked out to my truck, and made one phone call. By New Year's, their mortgage drafts were gone, canceled, finished. And that was just the opening move. Some things needed setting right, and arrogance had a bill coming due. You probably won't believe what I did after that. But hey, before we roll on, tap that subscribe button and drop a comment about where you're listening from. It helps more than you think. I could cook the turkey this year, I said, sinking deeper into Ryan's leather sofa. The one with the sage stuffing your mom loved. She used to claim it beat her grandma's by a mile, remember? The words floated there in the cozy room, mixing with the smell from Brittany's pricey vanilla candles. Ryan shifted beside me, his wedding band flashing in the glow from that 12-foot Christmas tree. Something about his shoulders changed. He drew in, like a guy bracing for a punch. Dad, you can't come here for Christmas. It landed like a fist to the gut. I blinked, convinced I'd misheard. What are you saying? Why wouldn't I be welcome? He wouldn't look at me. His eyes stuck to that marble coffee table, the one I helped him choose last spring after Brittany decided the old set wasn't refined enough. Brittany's parents are coming. They'd prefer if you weren't here. My hands went cold. They'd prefer. It's simpler this way, Dad. You know how her family is about traditions. They've got their own way of doing the holidays. Every word came out smaller, like he was shrinking right in front of me. I took in the room, the silk curtains I'd paid for when Brittany complained about privacy, the hardwood floors bought with my second mortgage, the crown molding that maxed my credit card. Every square foot bore my fingerprints, my work, my sacrifices, my love for my son. Their own way, I repeated. And what way is that, Ryan? He flinched. Please don't make this harder than it has to be. Through the kitchen archway, Brittany's brand new KitchenAid stood at attention, the top-tier model she needed for a holiday baking phase that lived exactly 3 weeks. $2,000 of my money, probably used twice since October. Where should I spend Christmas then? I asked, softer than I meant. Ryan's face twisted. Maybe you could, I don't know, visit Aunt Diane. Or we could do something the weekend after. The weekend after. Like Christmas was an oil change we could reschedule. I stood, my knees griping the way they do after 8 years of carrying more than my share. I see. Dad, wait. But I was already moving toward the door, past the family photos where my face got smaller in every frame, past the closet crammed with Brittany's $1,000 coats. My hand wrapped the doorknob. Solid, cold. Son, I said without turning. Tell Brittany's folks I said Feliz Navidad. December air slapped my face as I walked to my truck. Behind me, Ryan called my name once. Then the latch clicked. Quiet, final. I sat for a moment with the engine off, staring at the twinkling lights and windows of houses I wouldn't be welcome in. My phone buzzed, probably Ryan lining up a smooth apology I've heard 100 times. I let it buzz. Then I turned the key and drove into the dark, leaving behind the warm glow of the house I'd bankrolled but never truly belonged in. The heater hummed against the Spokane cold while I navigated the familiar streets home. South Hills spread around me, every corner a memory of who I used to be. The guy who thought family was everything and would give his last dollar just to see his son smile. That guy was a fool. At 29th and Grand, a red light stopped me. I watched a young dad load presents into an SUV while his kids fogged up the windows with excited breaths. Once upon a time, that was me and Ryan. Before Brittany. Before I got demoted to an ATM with feelings in the way. Numbers started clattering through my head like a busted slot machine. $2,800 every month, 5 years straight. Last spring, my calculator finally quit when I tallied it all, about $140,000. Later, when I did the real ledger work, the precise figure came out higher, but at that light, all I knew was the ache. When the green flashed, I pressed the pedal too hard. The truck growled in agreement. 5th Street, that's where I refinanced my place. Our place, Laura's and mine, to cover their down payment. I still remember the loan officer's pity. Mr. Morales, are you sure? You're taking on a lot of risk for someone else's investment. Someone else's investment. Not my boy's future. Not our family's footing. Someone else's investment. I passed Lincoln Street next, the bank where I took a second mortgage when Ryan got laid off 2 years back. Just for a bit, Dad, he'd said. Till I find my footing. Brittany stood behind him in a $700 purse, dutifully nodding while, in her head, She did the math on how far my desperation could stretch. Turned out, not far enough to earn respect. I pulled into my driveway, the one with the cracked concrete I couldn't afford to fix because every spare dollar vanished into their suburbia fantasy. The porch light flickered, another repair on my list. Inside, the house felt hollow without Laura's laugh, without the warmth of the family gatherings that weren't coming back. My phone rang as I fought my keys out. The noise echoed off empty walls. Brittany's name flashed across the screen, no doubt ready to explain why I didn't measure up for her parents. Perfect. I'd been waiting 5 years for this chat. I answered on the fourth ring, long enough for her to wonder if I'd pick up at all. Jack. That syrupy voice she used when asking me to cover the water bill or property taxes. I heard about the little misunderstanding with Ryan, she cooed. Misunderstanding? I leaned against the kitchen counter, coat still on. Don't think there's anything unclear, Brittany. You drew your line just fine. Look, I get that it seemed harsh, but you have to understand my parents' perspective. They're very traditional. They expect a certain atmosphere for the holidays. A certain atmosphere, I said. And what kind is that? A pause. Paper rustled, shopping bags, I'd bet, spending money that should have covered their mortgage but somehow always landed on me. They're not used to your cooking. All that spicy Mexican food and loud music. And, Jack, my parents are educated. They like to talk current events, literature, art. 8 years I kept my mouth shut, swallowed insults, looked past the little glances that treated me like hired help. My kind of cooking? I kept my voice calm. You mean the stuff you ate every Sunday for 3 tight years? Those tamales you said reminded you of your grandma? That was different. We appreciated it then, but with my parents. With your parents, the Mexican peasant might embarrass your fancy table. Her sugar cracked. Don't be dramatic. It's not race. It's class. My dad graduated summa cum laude from Washington State. My mom speaks 4 languages. They summer in the Hamptons. What would you add to the conversation, Jack? Tilework stories? Heat flared in my chest, but I held my tone. After Laura died, I built a business from nothing. Employed over 50 people. I've paid more in taxes than your dad pulled down in a decent year. Money isn't everything. Breeding and education matter. Frankly, Laura understood her place better than you understand yours. Something went silent in me, like a wire snapped. What did you just say about my wife? I'm saying she knew how to blend in. She didn't make waves. Some rooms weren't meant for her, and she respected that. My knuckles whitened around the phone. Laura had more class in her little finger than your whole family tree. Oh, please. She cleaned houses and got lucky. At least she didn't make a fuss about it. Brittany, I said, my voice dropping into something I barely recognized. Hear me clearly. This conversation is over. We're done pretending we're family. You can't just. We're done. I hung up. I set the phone down gentle on the counter. Suddenly, the kitchen felt different, smaller, but lighter, like somebody cracked a window in a room that hadn't seen air in years. I went to the desk in the corner and pulled a thick manila folder I'd dodged for months. Bank statements, mortgage slips, 5 years of automatic drafts that bled me dry while they lived like royalty. Time to stop the bleeding. Move 1. Kill the mortgage. I spread the paperwork across the kitchen table like evidence at a crime scene. 5 years of statements, every one showing the same transfer. $2, $800 on the 15th, vanishing out of my account into theirs. A paper trail of my own bad judgment. I grabbed a calculator. Year 1, $33,600. Year 2, another $33,600. By year 3, I quit buying clothes. Year 4, I started shopping the discount groceries. Year 5, I ate peanut butter sandwiches to hold the line. The total rolled to $143,400, without counting the down payment. The utilities I covered when Brittany's shopping ran hot, the new roof, the landscaping, the furniture they insisted was essential. I leaned back and let the numbers blur. Laura's life insurance. My retirement. The grandkids' college fund for kids I might never be allowed to see. All of it poured into a house where I wasn't welcome for Christmas. I picked up my phone and scrolled to my bank. The robot voice gave me English or Spanish. Helpful, sure. Customer service, this is Ashley. How can I help today? I need to cancel an automatic transfer, I said, steadier than I'd felt in years. Absolutely, sir. I'll need your account number and verification. I read off the numbers and listened to keys tapping. Efficient. No judgment about why a 62-year-old man is canceling what looks like his kid's mortgage draft. I see the transfer, Mr. Morales, $2, 800 monthly to Wells Fargo. Account ending in 7-4-2-3. How long has this been in place? 5 years. It tasted bitter. And you want it canceled immediately? I looked around at my dated appliances, the scuffed paint, the drafty windows, the projects I'd postponed while funding someone else's castle. Effective immediately, I said. All set. It's canceled. Anything else I can do for you? No, I said, and it felt good to say it. That's everything. I hung up and let the quiet settle. Outside, December evening dropped over Spokane, Christmas lights winking in windows where people gathered without needing to pass some ridiculous test. For the first time in 5 years, next month's budget would balance. For the first time since Laura died, I could fix the porch light, buy real groceries, maybe even take a small trip. I stacked the statements and mortgage slips, gathered the receipts, the whole record of my generosity, and carried the pile to the fireplace. I struck a match and watched 5 years of self-sacrifice curl black and fall to ash. The warmth on my face felt like something I hadn't felt in a long time. My phone buzzed, probably Ryan apologizing or Brittany needing money for new throw pillows. I ignored it. I poured a glass of the good whiskey I'd been saving for a special occasion that never came. This felt special enough. I lifted my glass to the mantel, Laura's photo smiling back, and to the man I used to be and the one I was choosing next. Merry Christmas to me, I said, and I meant it. Brittany's next move. Morning came crisp and bright. Sunlight slipped through the kitchen windows while I nursed cup number 2. For the first time in years, I wasn't doing subtraction in my head 3 days out from a draft. Freedom tasted better than the fancy Colombian blend I finally let myself buy. At 10:47 sharp, the phone rang. Brittany's name lit up like a warning label. Jack, she said, breezing past hello. I need you to pick up my parents from Spokane Airport. They land from Portland at 2. I set my mug down and watched the steam drift. You already forgotten yesterday? Whatever that was, focus on logistics. They need a ride, and you're the only one free during the day. The audacity took your breath. Less than a day after telling me I wasn't fit company for her family's dinner table, she had me wearing a chauffeur's cap. And you're asking me because? Because that's what family does, she snapped. They help. Besides, let's be real, you're not my rival. You don't even have the spine for that. Just take the truck and go. There it was, the insult wrapped like a mint on the pillow. What airline? I asked, mild as warm milk. Alaska, flight 447. Baggage claim 3. And Jack? They expect someone who can manage luggage properly. Don't embarrass us. Her nails tapped granite, the very slab I'd financed because laminate didn't photograph well on her feed. Of course, I said. I'll handle everything. Good. And wear something decent. That blue shirt from Ryan's graduation. They noticed details. Click. No thank you. Not even a fake one. I stared at the blank screen. 2 o'clock. Flight 447. Carousel 3. I glanced at the wall clock. 10:52. Plenty of time. So I poured another coffee, added an extra spoon of sugar, and opened yesterday's crossword. 7 across. Delayed gratification, 12 letters. The answer would come to me. The airport trap. At 2:15, I wasn't at the terminal. I was in my favorite chair with a hot cup of Earl Grey and the Sunday edition of the Spokane Review. The crossword lay finished on the table. Postponed. That was the word. The phone buzzed. Brittany again. I let it sing. Sun slid across the living room floor, warming the same spot where I'd counted my generosity for years. Today, the quiet felt earned. At 2:47, she texted. Dad, where are you? My parents are. I turned the phone face down and checked the sports. The Seahawks lost. Some things never change. By 3:30, the phone had danced 6 times. I'd finished the paper, brewed more tea, and cleaned the junk drawer you always swear you'll get to. Amazing what a man can do when he stops running errands for folks who treat him like staff. At 3:45, an unknown number rang. Probably the Harpers using a stranger's phone and baggage claim. I let it go. Outside, my neighbor strung lights while his kids rocketed around the yard. Normal families doing normal things. Nobody stranded. By 4:15, the buzzing turned to a swarm. Brittany, then unknown, then Brittany again. I unplugged the landline and powered the cell all the way down. Silence. Perfect. I made a grilled cheese and warm tomato soup. Comfort I hadn't let myself buy lately because my grocery money subsidized someone else's lifestyle. The bread toasted golden, the soup steamed in my favorite mug. Somewhere across town, 3 people argued about taxi fare and wondered how their driver had the nerve to skip. The thought seasoned my soup. By 5, dinner was done, dishes loaded, and I was choosing a movie, my first full evening to myself in forever, not worried about a crisis that curiously always ended with me paying. Then, pounding on the front door. Not knocking, pounding. The kind that rattles wood. I set down my tea and walked slow, already knowing. 3 shadows hunched on the porch like wolves at a fence. I opened the door to find Rick Harper's red face inches from mine. "What the hell is wrong with you?" he barked, shoving past me without an invite. We waited at that damn airport over 3 hours. Linda followed, hair frazzled, lips a thin razor. "This conduct is unacceptable from a man your age, Jack." Barbaric. Brittany trailed them in, designer coat wrinkled, makeup smudged. "You humiliated us. Do you even get what you did? My parents had to pay $40 for a taxi because you decided to. Get out of my house." My voice split their noise like a blade. They froze, stunned at the steel. "Excuse me." Rick's red turned purple. "You don't get to order anybody around after what you pulled." "This is my house," I said quietly. "I want you out. Now." Linda stepped forward with that long-practiced condescension. "You don't grasp the size of your mistake. My husband has connections in this city, business, social. You can't treat people like us this way without." This was a lesson. I cut in, meeting her eyes. "About your arrogance and how you treat folks you think are beneath you." Brittany's jaw dropped. "A lesson? Who are you to teach anyone anything? You're nobody. I'm the guy who stopped being your bank and your Uber." I stepped aside and opened the door wider. Class dismissed. Rick jabbed a finger but didn't quite dare poke. "You have no idea who you're messing with, old man. I've had roots here longer than you've been breathing the air. I know people who can make your life very difficult." "Is that a threat, Mr. Harper?" "It's a promise," he hissed. "Abandoning older people at an airport. Think that's consequence-free? You're about to find out." Linda nodded, smile sharp as glass. "Actions have consequences, Jack, and yours will be public." Brittany tugged his sleeve. "Dad, let's go. He's not worth it." They filed out, but Rick turned at the threshold. "You'll regret this," he said. "Count on it." I closed the door and turned the deadbolt with a satisfying click. Their rental backed out in a flurry of hand gestures. The house felt cleaner with them gone, like a stain was lifting. Their words echoed. Public consequences, connections, important people. I picked up my tea. For a second, concern tried to surface. Then a stronger feeling bubbled up. Anticipation. 3 days later, I was sipping my coffee when my own photo stared back at me from page 3 of the Spokane Review. The headline: Spokane businessman abandons elderly couple at airport during holiday storm. My hand stilled on the mug. There I was in black and white, an old company headshot, 5 years outdated. Underneath, a story that ran cold and hot at the same time. Rick and Linda Harper, visiting their daughter for Christmas, were stranded over 4 hours Sunday when family member Jack Morales failed to honor a scheduled pickup. The couple, both in their late 50s, were exposed to dangerously cold conditions amid a winter storm warning. Winter storm? It had been 52 and sunny. "We couldn't believe someone would do that," Rick lamented. "We called repeatedly. Mr. Morales ignored us. We had to take an expensive taxi in hazardous weather. At our age, it's not just rude, it's dangerous." The article wandered into my erratic behavior, hinting at questions about my mental state. No mention of the Christmas ban. No context about years of financial support. Just me, the villain. Byline: Megan Lawson, lifestyle editor. Name meant nothing to me, but the strategy did. Rick pulled strings. Banking pals. A planted piece in the exact spot to ding my reputation. Smart move, I'll give him that. In a town like Spokane, reputation is a fragile thing. One planted article can nick what took decades to build. They wanted a public fight. Fine, they'd get one. I folded the paper and slid into the gear my business taught me. Methodical planning. This wasn't about airport pickups anymore. This was about winning. I opened my laptop and started typing names. Rick Harper, Linda Harper, Brittany Morales, Ryan Morales. Social feeds. Networks. Habits. Weak spots. Everything they'd bragged about in public. If they wanted chess, I'd show them a board they didn't even know they were standing on. Ryan's LinkedIn showed a brand new connection, Megan Lawson, the same editor who wrote the hit piece. A quick look at business directories showed 3 mutual connections between Rick and Megan's boss. That article didn't just show up, it was shepherded. Amateur hour. I created a timeline instead of a Twitter rant. 5 years of support with bank statements, receipts, canceled checks. Down payment, $47,000 from my home equity. Kitchen upgrade when Brittany decided granite was necessary, $18,000 on my card. 60 mortgage payments at $2,800, $168,000 and climbing. $250,000 total when you stack it all. More than I spent on myself for a decade. A text pinged from an unknown number. I ignored it. By evening, I had a manila folder thick enough to stop a door, statements, receipts, screenshots of Brittany's Our Beautiful Home posts, photos of the kitchen I funded, dinner reservations for months I paid their utilities, and a printed copy of Megan's article with my notes in red. Lie next to the weather claim. False next to erratic behavior. Missing context where they conveniently left out 5 years of support. On the calendar, December 24th circled in red. Not for Christmas, for timing. Brittany's Facebook events showed 12 dinner guests, friends, neighbors, social club types. The exact audience that reads the review and forms a quick opinion. I closed the lid and fetched my good camera, the job site one. Time to document something else. Christmas Eve dawned gray and cold, the kind of inland northwest winter that makes you thankful for warm houses and family. Too bad I wasn't invited to either. I laid out my packets like a lawyer prepping for court. Bank statements highlighted, receipts ordered, social media photos printed, the newspaper article on top with red notes loud and clear. 12 sets, 1 for each place setting. I put on my navy suit, the one from Laura's funeral, pressed sharp. Today I was burying the doormat version of me. At 6:30 p.m., I loaded the briefcase and drove to Kendall Yards. Their place glowed, cars packed along the curb. Through the front windows, silhouettes moved around the dining table. Brittany in full hostess mode in the house my money kept afloat. I parked across the street and checked my watch. 6:45, late enough to have everyone captive at the main course. Early enough to avoid the great escape. The door was unlocked. Of course, Brittany liked to brag about how safe the neighborhood was compared to rougher parts of town. Warmth and chatter hit me as I stepped in. And then Linda said, "That's not how our family does it, darling." Laughter. Our family. After everything, those words rang like a joke. I walked into the dining room with my briefcase. 12 faces turned, surprise, confusion, then panic rolling across them. Brittany froze mid-sip. Ryan went pale. Rick and Linda looked like they'd seen a ghost. "Evening," I said, calm as a weatherman. I set my briefcase on their marble sideboard. "Hope you don't mind if I drop by for a minute." Brittany found her voice first. "Jack, this is wildly inappropriate. You need to leave." "Actually," I said, opening the briefcase, "your guests deserve to know who footed the bill for this dinner, this house, and the lifestyle you like to post about." A woman I didn't know, looked like one of Linda's charity pals, tilted her head. "Brittany, what's he talking about?" "He's having an episode," Brittany said fast. "Ryan, call someone." I was already circling the table, setting a packet in front of each guest. "These are bank records," I said, conversational. 5 years of support, $168,000 in mortgage payments alone, plus the down payment, renovations, the appliances, the furniture. Take your time. Paper rustled. Eyes flew. Faces shifted. "This is," a man started. "Outrageous," the woman across from him finished. "Brittany, why didn't you tell us any of this?" "It's complicated," Brittany said, composure fraying. Jack volunteered. "We never asked." "Let's also talk about this," I said, placing copies of the review article around the plates. Notice the part where I supposedly abandoned elderly visitors during a storm. A gray-haired fellow in a pricey sweater glanced up. "Rick, the weather was 52 and sunny," I said before he could spin. "And they weren't stranded tourists. They're Brittany's parents, who told me I wasn't fit to share their table." Linda made a strangled sound. "That's not. We never." "You never what, Linda?" I took out phone screenshots. Brittany's posts bragging about our home. Check-ins at expensive restaurants on months I covered the light bill. You told me my food and my conversations would be embarrassing for your educated circle. A charity friend put down her fork. Linda, surely not. He's twisting this, Rick blustered. But he didn't have his old steam. This man has issues. Aging, stress. Financial problems? I almost smiled. I've been wiring nearly $3,000 a month to your daughter's household for 5 years. The only financial problems we need to address are the ones you're about to have. I looked around the table. These folks took around $200,000 from me while calling me names behind my back. They turned my own kid against me, banned me from holidays. And when I finally stopped paying, they tried to smudge my name in the paper. Ryan spoke up, voice small. Dad, I didn't know about the paper. Your wife knew, I said softly. Her parents orchestrated it. They made me the villain because I wouldn't keep playing the help. The room's plates started shifting, social fault lines moving. Guests looked at Rick and Linda with a mix of disgust and secondhand embarrassment. This is unconscionable, an elderly woman in pearls said, staring at a statement. Rick, how could you let your daughter exploit this man, then smear him publicly when he stopped? You don't know the full, Rick began. I know enough, she cut him off. He supported your family while you treated him like staff. After you told me I wasn't welcome because I didn't fit your idea of class, I added. After 5 years of paying your bills while you sneered at my last name and my work. Silence fell heavy. Brittany tried one last time. Everyone, please. This is a private family thing that. No, I said. You made it public when you used the paper to hit my reputation. You decided my good name was acceptable collateral for your pride. I nodded to the room. I wanted you to see the truth before you read about me again, because you will. Next time, it'll be the real story. I snapped the briefcase shut and smoothed my tie. Enjoy dinner. It's the last one I'll ever pay for. As I walked out, the noise behind me rose. Questions, accusations, the crack of a facade giving way. Sweetest Christmas music I've heard. Spring rolled around, and on a Tuesday in March a letter came certified. Legal weight in every line. I signed at the door. The air smelled like fresh starts. Notice of default, the envelope said. Final demand for payment. 3 months of missed mortgage checks had caught up with Ryan and Brittany. $8,400 overdue. 14 days to fix it, or the bank would start foreclosure on the house I'd helped them buy. I set it aside and went back to my coffee like it was a weather report from some other coast. My phone had been busy for weeks. Brittany blocked after the first meltdown. Rick and Linda had gone quiet since that Christmas Eve demolition. Ryan called too. His pride lasted exactly 97 days. He showed up on a Thursday evening looking 10 years older. Purple under the eyes. Expensive suit wrinkled. The smell of panic is universal. Dad, he said when I opened the door. Can we talk? I stepped aside. He looked around like he was seeing my house for the first time. The new furniture I bought with my first mortgage-free month, the fresh paint, the repairs that finally got done when I stopped underwriting someone else's American dream. Nice place, he said softly. That's what happens when you spend on your own life instead of on people who don't say thank you, I said, settling into my new recliner. Coffee? He shook his head, perched on the couch edge like a man who didn't plan to get comfortable. Dad, I need you to know I'm sorry. For Christmas. For the article. For how Brittany, for how he treated you. Go on. I didn't know about Rick's stunt with the paper. I swear. When I found out, he ran a hand through his hair. God, Dad. The things they said about you. About our family. About Mom. My jaw tightened at Laura's name, but I kept even. What exactly did they say about your mother? That she knew her place better than you. That she understood boundaries. He dropped his eyes. I should have defended you. Years ago. Yes, I said. You should have. We sat a bit with that truth. Outside, my neighbor mowed his lawn. The noise steady and normal. The world you get when sons don't disinvite fathers on holidays. The house is in foreclosure, he said at last. I know. We can't cover the payments without. He trailed off, hearing himself. Without me, I finished. He winced. We're going to lose everything. Brittany's respect, her parents' approval. You'll figure it out, I said. Not cruel, just true. The same way I figured out Christmas alone. The same way I learned to live without a son who respects me. Tears ran quiet. I lost you, didn't I? I chose them and lost you. I watched him. This man I raised and loved, who'd let other people talk him into thinking his father wasn't good enough. Ryan, I said, you didn't lose me. You handed me away. He wiped his face. Is there any chance you could forgive me? I forgave you months ago, I said, and felt it was true. But forgiveness isn't a reset button. It doesn't mean pretending none of it happened or that I'll go back to funding a life that came with terms and conditions. Then what does it mean? I stood and looked at the mantel, Laura's photo next to a new one. Me with Aunt Diane and her crew at Easter, the first holiday in years where I was wanted. It means if you want a relationship, you build it brick by brick. It means you show me respect instead of asking me to earn it. It means you make choices because they're right, not because they're easy. I turned back. And it means that if anyone, your wife, her parents, whoever, tries to box me out of family again, you'll remember who actually behaves like family. He nodded slow. The house isn't my problem, I said, lighter than I'd felt in forever. You're a grown man. Get a job that covers your bills. Sell and buy what you can afford. Stop living past your means and expecting others to bridge the gap. He stood, shoulders a little straighter. You're right. About all of it. I know. At the door, he looked back. Dad, when you walked into that Christmas dinner and told the truth, I was mad and mortified. But I was proud, too. Good, I said. Maybe there's hope yet. After he left, I poured a short whiskey and stepped onto the back porch. Spoken spring was waking up, buds on the branches, air with a little warmth in it. I'd be 63 in 4 months. Laura had been gone 8 years. I'd wasted 5 of those letting people treat me like a doormat. I wasn't going to waste any more. My phone pinged. Aunt Diane, Sunday dinner? The kids want to show you their projects. I smiled and typed back, wouldn't miss it. Turns out, real family is the set of people who truly want you at the table. Everything else is expensive theater, and I'm done buying tickets to a show where I'm not allowed on stage. The whiskey tasted like freedom. The road ahead looked exactly as bright as I chose to make it. If this story hit home, tap like, subscribe, and tell me what part stuck with you most in the comments. To hear the next one, click the box on the left. Thanks for being here.